Alright, so good days everyone. I am Nicholas Go, and today I'm covering part 1 of our Orion electronic case. Why the current bonus system is demotivating, particularly for the high performers like Farah. My aim is to make the diagnosis very crisp. What the plan rewards, what behavior is produced, and why the outcomes are predictable. I will spend roughly 10 minutes on this diagnosis, and then I will give a concise overview of part 2 to part 4, so the full narrative is clear. Let me show you the roadmap first. Here's how I will use the 13 minutes. Question 1 is the deep dive. This is where we establish the why, then I will skim question 2 to 4 in a very exhaustive way what we propose. How HR balance fairness and what happens if Orion does nothing. So as you listen, the structure is design, behavior, consequences, and break to the freaks. Let's start with what Orion is currently paying for. Orion current formula is simple on paper. 60% of bonus is driven by turnover and 40% by division sales. The critical gap is what's missing. There's effectively not direct line of sight between an individual's contributions and their payout. That's why the case produced the headline tension. A top performer like Farah can still receive a lower bonus than some senior colleagues. And the early organizational signals are already visible. Discretionary effort drops and people stop going the extra mile, and external offers start to look attractive. Not because of the personality, but because the incentive architectures is telling them performance does not reliable pay. Now I will diagnose the flaws using the established motivation and fairness theory. First flaw, the plan breaks the effort reward chain. Using expectancy theory, motivations depends on 3 links. Effort leads to performance, performance leads to rewards, and the reward is value. At Orion, effort can still lead to performance. Salespeople understand that. The collapse happens at performance to reward. If I outperform, the bonus outcome is still heavily determined by the turnover plus a board division result. So, high performers can't predict and therefore can't trust the payout. When that happens, the rational response is either to reallocate effort to what's measured and rewarded, or to accede to an employer where pay for the performance is clearer. And that links directly into the fairness perceptions. Second flaw, the plan generates perceived inequity which spreads quickly. Equity theory is straightforward. People compare their input outcome ratio to others. If they feel under-rewarded, they restore balance by reducing inputs, withdrawing, or leaving. Organizational justice explains why it escalates is not only goalless, it's also the process is not defensible or transparent. So, Farah's reaction is not oversensitivity. It's a predictable justice response in the system where contribution is not visible recognized. Now, beyond feelings, incentive also create the predictable behaviors drift. Third flaw, incentives shape behavior. If you reward the wrong thing, people become very good at the wrong thing. When turnover dominates and the team matrix is blunt, you see classic drift, free riding, politics over performance and withdrawal of discretionary effort. The risk heat map is the practical point. The highest impact risk is turnover of top talent because high performers have the best outside options. So this is not just a HR fairness issue. It's become a capability and continuity risk for the sales engine. If we zoom out, these symptoms come from a small set of root causes. So this slide compresses the diagnosis into the fishbone. The message is the outcome is systematic, not personal. So first is about the design. Turner dominates, merit is invisible. Second, measurement. Weak controllability and split credit, not quality gains. Third, the governance. Limited calibration, opaque decision, not clean appears logic. And the last one, culture. Turner becomes the entitlement. Cohort conflict grow, reciprocity weaken. The table below translates the diagram into design requirements. These are the levels we must fix if we want a stable, fair incentive system. So, what does this do to Orion's performance metric if nothing changes? The damage path is consistent across organizations. Perceived unfairness lead to withdrawal behaviors, then existent intent, and then operational costs. You will see it first in the softer metrics: less mentoring, fewer weekend events, lower discretionary effort, and then in harder metrics like the voluntary turnover among the top performers. And turnover in sales is not neutral. Vacancies and ramp up time disrupt continuity and customer relationship. That's why the diagnosis matters. If Orion treats this as a complaint, it will miss the underlying design failure. With that diagnosis clear, I will now skim the solution and implications in the 3 quick sliders. In 1 minute, our recommendation is a 40-40-20 annual incentive plan. 40% individual, so merit is visible again. 40% team or division, so collaboration remain valuable. And another 20% behaviors or value, so Orion rewards the culture is one, without turning it into a popularity contest because it's captured and governed. This is simple enough to explain and strong enough to restore the line of sight. But balance does not come from weak alone. It comes from governance. Right? So HR balance fairness through the guardrails. First, calibration and transparency. So rating are defensible. Second, measurements hygiene, quality gate, audit exceptions, and split credit rules. And the third, cost control, threshold, target, max curve, and affordability gates. So the design is not just fairer in theory, it's operable and enforceable. Finally, what if the Orion refuses to change? If Orion does nothing, the effects compound. Morale declines, turnover rise, and productivity drop. The strategy risk is trust. Once trust breaks, retention fix become more expensive and less effective. So delay turns a design corrections into a cultural repairs program, which is harder. So now let me close with the key takeaway. To summarize part 1, the current scheme is mechanically unfair. It predictably triggers justice reactions and it creates non-behavioral failure modes. So the fix must be structural, redesign the incentive architecture and governance. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you again.